Oh, okay. We're doing a quick out the window weather update here. It is January 11th here in Wisconsin. We got a little bit of snow, but not a lot. Guys, let's go in and check on the plants. Holy cow, guys, look at this. We are looking good. If you're brand new to my channel or this series, I'm part of an indoor growing competition. So it is a winter growing competition and we're growing giants. So the biggest fruits or vegetables win. There's 4 categories. We are participating in 3 of the categories. So it's basically to get us giant competitive growers through the winter, give us something to do. And it's so fun to try to do something so weird like this. Like in this case, this is a Carolina cross watermelon plant. If you're new to this channel, look at this beautiful foliage. We are almost completely packed with foliage for the prime light area. I'm using these 320 watt Farm Light brand barred LEDs. Absolutely loving them. They were so affordable for this new LED technology. There is no other choice in grow light nowadays than LED. So there was a little confusion about how I'm able to foliar feed under these lights with the lights on, which you see me do, and I say I've been microdosing multiple times a day. So I've been spraying and feeding with the lights on. And the reason you can do that with LED is because they run so cold or cool. Watch this here. This is why. You're actually creating hardly any heat at all. There's this beautiful, gentle warmth, barely even. So you're not going to burn your foliage by foliar feeding. The hottest part of these fixtures is the power source right here. And look at it's just, it might be a little too hot to leave my hand on there forever, but this is the hottest part of the light, and that's radiating upward. So you're running so cool that you're not burning your foliage. Even foliage that's right up by the lights, you can foliar feed and you're perfectly fine. So I think that the person that brought that up is using HID lighting, which is high intensity discharge, which is a very intense lighting, like an older style of grow lights. But nowadays, with the technology and the price dropping on these really nice LEDs, there is no other choice. If anybody wants a super long rant or explanation about LED lighting or other grow lights, I can do a separate video. I don't want to rant too long about it, but I've owned every single type you can imagine over the last 30 years. So, and I just came to the conclusion, or there's a reason why all my grows have LEDs on them. It's just the superior choice nowadays. I still like this T5 for seed starting. Some, every light has a benefit in some way. Even them high intensity discharge lights, they create tons of heat. You're paying for the bulb to create a lot of heat, but maybe you need heat if you're in a basement or something, or outdoors in a grow tunnel. Anyway, let's not rant about lights. I just wanted to point out that about the foliar feeding, it's perfectly fine under LED. So guys, the foliage is looking absolutely great. I'm pretty much stopping most growth. I mean, there's still some vine tips here, but I don't want to layer it too much. There's already like 2 layers of foliage here. It's literally growing like mounds of it. So I'm trying to chill that out. So otherwise, everything's looking good there. I'm training these up, like I said. So see, these are coming up toward the light. They can come up right up next to the light like this. That won't hurt nothing. Guys, it's time. Look at what we have here, Melonie. Oh my gosh, look at the difference in only 7 days from last video. Oh my gosh, look at this. Always looks kind of weird on the GoPro because the GoPro's so wide angle. Everything actually looks smaller on the GoPro, but this shape is honestly awful. This is not what I wanted for the shape, but the growth is so great that I'm still very, very happy. So one reason I didn't want to end up with this shape is, well, not only seems like we're losing mass here, even though it's kind of proportionally like pushed back to here, but we're creating like odd shapes here, and that can be dangerous. So right here, it kind of bends in like a giant pumpkin growing term would be called a dill ring, where you almost end up with a crease. See how this dips in right here? If that keeps exaggerating as this bulges out, this is I would call a dill ring, and that can actually make basically an internal weak spot. If there's a cavity, a hollow cavity inside here, which they can have, it could travel close to the edge of this, and we could possibly get a split right there. This side bulges out the other way. That side's fine, to be honest. Jeez, this is so goofy. So yeah, guys, the growth is amazing, but the shape is absolutely horrific. Melonie, I know you wanted to be the prom queen, but they probably are going to lock you in the AV room. So anyway, guys, I even went as far. A couple days ago, I pollinated another melon. So we have that little one. I want to see if that one also, it's got pretty decent shape, but it's almost, see that end's almost a little bigger already. I want to see if that one develops into a pear-shaped also. If for some reason that one does start growing into a perfect Carolina cross shape, that's the strain that this is, I will consider cutting Melonie off. But that's probably a bad idea because we're on our way, guys. We're way over 10 pounds already, and the world record's 67 pounds. So we can get up to 90 days. We could get 100 days of growth. We're only 14 days in. So I do not see an issue besides just a little scary about the shape. Otherwise, we're on our way. Besides attempting the world record number, just winning the competition in general. That's what I'm going for. I haven't seen any other pollinated melons yet, but I'm sure there probably is. It's a worldwide competition, so I don't have no idea how many people are attempting it. But obviously, growing a watermelon indoors is a challenge. So, but that's what makes it so fun. Okay, is that enough of a rant and update? Not much else going on, except I have been charting the growth daily. I write down the circumference every day at 11 a.m. about. So we were at 30-inch circumference yesterday. So, all right, guys, let's go check on grow chamber number 2. Ooh, look at this big, this big beet. Yep, this is my beet. This is the second category that we're growing. This plant is getting kind of huge. Can you see my hand here? It's hard to show with the GoPro here. It's kind of interesting. So I realized I had an extra one of these Vipar Spectra LEDs that wasn't even being used. So look, I hung on a second one. And as soon as I added that much more intensity in the light, the plant like flattened out. Do you see that? If you've seen it in the last video, its leaves were stretching up higher. And after I doubled the intensity, I raised them up even. The plant's like flattening out. So it's definitely doesn't want more light than that. So I even raised these up a little bit yesterday, and yesterday I did. But anyway, we're getting some major growth on the actual beet itself. Can you guys see in there? There's a big old beet there already. I think most of its mass is above the ground. It's over 14.5 inches around. I have a tape measure around it. So yeah, the beet is already 14 inches, over 14 inches around, and we have some awesome side shoots developing. See like where my finger's touching here? That's a whole side shoot of foliage. So see, for a while, just the middle was producing foliage as a new foliage point, but it's side branching all around, putting out new branches. So if them could start gaining mass, and no matter what, they're going to add some mass. So, but yeah, it's looking really good. I think we're going to be able to leave this beet grow until the last moment probably, or close to the end, which it ends on April 1st. We still have the bonsai, the bonsaied watermelon plant. This watermelon plant is the exact same age as the other plant with the melon on it. So isn't it cool how you can bonsai anything? A bonsai is not a species, it's a way of caring for a plant. The dwarfing of a plant. So we have a dwarf watermelon plant that's the same age as this one. Okay, let's go to grow chamber number 1. What's going on in here? Oh my, oh my gosh. I haven't even looked at this one today. Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. You guys are at my face level, by the way. I'm using a GoPro. We have a tomato tree. This has got the smaller, the one size down Farmlight brand. I forgot the wattage on it. Maybe, I don't even know, 250, 200? Maybe less than that. But look at what it's doing. It's growing this tomato into a tree. Oh my gosh, this is insane. The only problem is I don't have a set tomato yet. So I don't know, this plant always from the beginning had something weird. I think it might have a bacterial infection or something. Like, remember I was losing branches and leaves on the bottom, like right off the bat. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get a tomato, but we sure grew a massive plant. Maybe I'll just, I don't even know. I could keep raising the light up and just fill the whole closet with the plant. Too bad it wasn't, what can you do with tomato leaves besides grow some caterpillars? But yeah, anyway, there is blossoms, you know, there's lots of blossoms. Here. So I've been tipping off the growth so it doesn't just keep going up. But there is potential flowers. There was a big one somewhere here. Basically all these tips, you know, I left the blossom. So we're still going to have a chance at it, but if it's just in here growing foliage and we're not going to get a tomato, then I will switch this light over to the Beet, because this is definitely the superior light. It's not the light's fault. I think something is in the plant. Unless it would like a more of a red spectrum. Oh, that's another thing. If you do splurge a little bit more, these Farmlight brand ones that I have don't have the extra bells and whistles. That's why they're so affordable. But if you really want to splurge and, for double the cost, the LEDs, you can control the spectrum on your phone now. So anywhere in the world, you can control your light. So I could mimic the changing of the seasons with my phone and change the spectrum of the LED. Isn't that nuts? Because later in the season in nature, you get more of a red spectrum because the rays of the sun are traveling through more of the atmosphere and it's scattering the blue light. So it's so neat that you could tune the spectrum on these lights. So maybe that would be helpful in this case, but I think it's something with the soil or in the plant. But okay, that was my rant. I was just kind of all over the place today, but that's our check-in for Sunday. The beet's doing awesome. The watermelon's doing awesome. The tomato is just a big tomato tree. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you want an in-depth guide about my experience with different grow lights and what I think about them. All right, we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.